You may not realize it, but the way your living room is arranged right now could be quietly draining your wealth, disturbing your peace, and even closing the door to the opportunities meant for you. Yes, just one misplaced object, one blocked pathway, one shadow falling across the wrong corner, and slowly, without warning, the energy of your home begins to turn against your dreams. You clean, you organize, you even light a candle, but still something feels stuck. The truth is, your living room may not be tired, it may be resisting. This morning you might have walked across your living room barefoot, letting the sunlight warm your skin. Maybe you straightened a cushion, dusted the edge of a mirror, or picked up yesterday's newspaper. And maybe in that silence you felt it, that subtle weight in the air, that strange stillness in a space meant to be alive. That's not just atmosphere. That's energy. In Eastern tradition, the living room isn't just a shared space. It's the heart of the home. It's the very place where fortune knocks first. It remembers arguments that never healed, laughter that faded too quickly, objects that should have been let go. And if we aren't careful, it can hold on to energies that no longer belong, creating invisible walls between us and the life we truly desire. But here's the good news: energy can shift. Today, we'll explore how your living room might be quietly shaping your fate, and how, with just a few mindful changes, you can open the door again, this time to welcome in light, ease, and abundance. Let's begin. Mistake 1. Unclear origin antiques, the echoes of other lives. You may think it's just decoration. A beautifully aged vase, a carved wooden statue with delicate hands, or a bronze bell with a patina that whispers of time. Perhaps it was gifted to you, or found in a vintage shop tucked in the corner of an old alley. It looked graceful, maybe even sacred. So you brought it home and placed it in your living room, hoping it would bring a touch of history, a sense of depth, or a quiet charm to the space. But what if I told you that some of these antiques, no matter how elegant they appear, might be the very reason you feel a heaviness that never quite lifts? A strange discomfort during dinner, a subtle tension in the air, a string of small misfortunes that seem to arrive without cause. And no matter how much incense you burn or how often you tidy the space, something still doesn't feel right. That's not imagination, that's energy. In Eastern philosophy, we are taught that objects are not lifeless. They remember. They absorb, they carry. Each item in your home is like a thread in a tapestry, woven with the emotions and events of where it's been, who has touched it, what it has witnessed. Antiques, especially those with unclear origins, are the most saturated. Some come from temples, altars, or homes filled with love, worship, and blessings. These carry a golden warmth, a kind of sacred stillness that settles into the home like a lullaby. But others have seen things they cannot speak of: wars, grief, betrayal, separation. They may have been held during arguments, packed during heartbreak, or passed from one uncertain hand to another. And if you don't know the story behind them, you may be unknowingly inviting someone else's sorrow into your life. There's an old saying, objects carry spirit, homes carry gods. In traditional homes, people understood this deeply. They would never display an item without cleansing it first, without sensing its energy with their bare hands, without asking if it belongs in their family's story. Today, we've forgotten how to feel in that way. We buy with the eyes, not with the heart. We seek style, not resonance. But your living room knows. It holds these items like memories you never made but are somehow living through. The strange arguments that begin for no reason. The feeling of tiredness that settles in the room even when you've rested. The financial leaks, the plans that stall, the joy that doesn't quite arrive. All of it can be echoes from lives not yours. Let me tell you the story of a woman who brought home a beautiful oil painting, red poppies in a silver frame. She hung it behind her sofa, proud of its elegance. A week later, her sleep changed. She began waking at 3 a.m. Unsettled, her dreams filled with loss. Her husband grew irritable. The television broke. The dog barked at the painting. Finally, on a quiet morning, she took it down and noticed something odd, written faintly in the corner, a name and a date. She searched and discovered that the painting once hung in a house that had burned down. No one had died, but the family never returned. That painting had held all that unspoken departure, and her home had started to carry it too. This isn't to say antiques are bad. Some are blessings. A bronze Buddha that sat in a temple for decades will still hum with the prayers of thousands. An old rice pot handed down through generations may still smell of care. But you must know. You must ask, where did this come from? Who held it? What energy lives in it now? And if you don't know, or if something about it feels off, but you can't explain why, listen to that. Your body is wiser than your mind in matters of energy. So what can you do? First, pause. Take a walk through your living room and look at each object not as a thing, but as a presence. Does it lift the room or weigh it down? Does it make you breathe deeper or make your chest feel tight? If you suspect an object may be holding stagnant or negative energy, you don't have to throw it away immediately. Start by cleansing it. Light sandalwood incense or burn dried lemongrass and ginger. Let the smoke circle the object slowly. You may also rub it lightly with ginger wine or a warm cloth soaked in salt water. Then place it in natural sunlight, preferably morning light, for at least 3 days. The sun, in its wisdom, knows how to dissolve what no longer serves. After cleansing, observe. If the room feels lighter, you'll know. If it still feels wrong, trust yourself. It may be time to let it go. And when you do, release it with gratitude. Thank it for the stories it carried, even if they weren't yours. Then choose again, this time not with your eyes, but with your spirit. Bring in objects that make your heart exhale. That feel like morning light. That don't just match your furniture, but align with your future. Because your living room is not a museum. It's a sanctuary. It should hold only what supports your energy, not what drains it. Mistake 2. Ceiling beams silent pressure from above. You may not notice it at first. A beam across the ceiling seems ordinary, part of the structure, harmless, even decorative. It disappears into the background like a quiet line in the sky. But over time, that line begins to do something. You start to feel heavy in the space beneath it. The sofa under the beam doesn't quite feel restful. Conversations drift into silence more quickly. You avoid sitting in that spot, or worse. You do, and you leave feeling inexplicably tired. And slowly, like the pressure of weather before a storm, the energy shifts. In traditional Feng Shui, beams are not just architecture. They are energetic separators, cutting lines across the flow of life, like emotional ceilings above our heads. When a ceiling beam crosses the middle of a living room or hangs directly above seating areas, especially the sofa or coffee table, it presses down on the energy of that space. It splits the room's vibrancy into parts. Imagine air trying to rise, light trying to stretch, but hitting an invisible wall midway. That's what a ceiling beam does to energy. And since energy in the home mirrors energy in the body, that invisible ceiling can slowly become your own. Have you ever felt like your ideas can't break through? Like you keep working, keep trying, but something presses against your ambition? You wake up determined, but by afternoon, you're drained. There are no arguments, but also no connection. No chaos, but also no movement. That's what living under a silent pressure feels like. And most people don't realize it's architectural, yes, but also emotional. One woman I once guided had a beautiful, minimalist home. White walls, soft linens, warm wood floors. But there was one thing. A thick, exposed beam ran directly above her living room sofa, the place where her family gathered each night. She called me not because of the beam, but because her teenage son had started becoming withdrawn. Her husband was restless. She felt lonely in her own home. "It's like we're all here," she said, "but none of us really arrive." When I stepped into the room, the answer was immediate. That beam didn't just cross the ceiling, it crossed their connection. What's remarkable is that the change is subtle at first. No one points to the ceiling and says, "That's the problem." But the body feels it. It begins with restlessness, discomfort, a sense that something is blocking joy. Then it deepens, fatigue, tension, emotional distance. Even finances can feel the squeeze. Why? Because where energy cannot rise, nothing can truly grow. That beam becomes a lid and you live beneath it. So what can you do? The most effective solution is physical. Cover the beam with a false ceiling. This creates a smooth, unbroken surface that allows energy to circulate freely and rise naturally. Choose soft, uplifting colors, white, cream, pale peach, anything that reflects light gently and doesn't hold heaviness. If you're adding lighting, opt for recessed, warm lights that glow like sunlight filtering through clouds. The idea is not to just cover the beam, but to restore the sky above you. But not every home allows renovation. In that case, the cure becomes symbolic and just as powerful. Start by softening the space directly beneath the beam. Place 2 potted plants under it. Choose ones with wide, round leaves like the Chinese money plant, peace lily, or golden pothos. These plants not only absorb negative vibrations, but also bring softness, beauty, and movement back into the room. Nature has a way of undoing what is too rigid. Where a beam brings hardness, a living plant reminds the room how to breathe. You can also hang a crystal pendant or a metal wind chime beneath the beam. Small, delicate, nothing too loud. Crystals disperse blocked energy through light. Even the way they gently sway when touched by air brings life back into stillness. A wind chime with its soft, natural sound reminds the room, and you, that nothing is stuck forever. The placement of these items isn't random. You're not just decorating, you're rebalancing. You're saying to the space, "I see what's heavy, I choose to lift it." And as you do, something inside you lifts too. A woman once shared that after hanging a crystal orb beneath the beam above her couch, her migraines, which had lasted years, began to ease. Her husband, who used to retreat to his office every evening, started sitting with her again to watch the sunset. She didn't change the world. She just shifted one invisible line. Because sometimes all it takes is that. To look up and say, "No more ceilings inside me." So the next time you sit in your living room, look above. Is there something hanging silently over your joy? A pressure you've learned to ignore? A weight that doesn't belong to you? Then remember this: your living room is not a tunnel, it's a sky. And the more you open it, the more the winds of luck and ease know how to find you. Mistake 3. Mirrors behind the sofa being watched without knowing. It's one of the most common design choices in modern homes. A large mirror placed right behind the sofa, stretching across the wall like a window to nothing. To the eye, it makes the space feel bigger, brighter. It reflects light, fills the room with symmetry, and gives the illusion of openness. But what if, instead of expanding your space, that mirror is silently shrinking your peace? In Feng Shui, mirrors are not neutral. They are amplifiers, reflectors, portals of energy. And when placed behind the most intimate seat in your home, The sofa where you unwind, where your family gathers, where your back is turned in trust. They can quietly disturb the very balance they were meant to enhance. Here's what happens even if you don't realize it. Your body is always listening. Even when your eyes aren't watching, your nervous system is sensing. When you sit with your back to a mirror, the subconscious registers movement, flickers of light, shadows shifting. It perceives this as instability, something behind you, something you can't see, something unpredictable. Over time, this activates a state of low-grade vigilance. You might call it restlessness. You might say you can't relax fully. But what's truly happening is your body no longer feels safe in stillness. One woman I worked with had a stunning living room, light oak floors, linen curtains, soft sage walls. And behind her ivory sofa hung an ornate antique mirror. When she moved in, she said it opened the space. But months passed and she couldn't sleep. Her husband became snappy. Guests rarely lingered. There was a strange charge in the room. And then one evening, while lighting a candle, she saw her own back in the mirror, small, alone, and distant. "It looked like I didn't belong in my own home," she told me. That's when she realized something was deeply wrong. The sofa is a sacred zone. It is the resting point of the living room, the place where energy is meant to settle, where laughter lands, where silence feels nourishing. It's where your heart opens, your shoulders drop, your breath softens. And behind that softness should be something that holds you, not something that unsettles you. From an energetic perspective, mirrors behind the sofa create reversed flow. Instead of grounding the person sitting, the mirror pulls energy outward, reflecting what should be absorbed, dispersing what should be contained. And because the head is closest to the mirror when seated, this imbalance directly affects the emotional and mental centers. You may feel scattered, overstimulated, moody, or mentally drained without any obvious reason. For those who are energetically sensitive, children, the elderly, or anyone going through emotional healing, the effect is even stronger. A mirror at the back becomes a silent agitator, a whispering unrest. It's not that you see anything frightening, it's that your energy is being pulled in two directions, forward toward life and backward into reflection. So what can you do? The most healing option is to relocate the mirror entirely. Move it to a side wall where it can reflect light, plants, or beauty, not your body in a moment of rest. Ideally, let it reflect something alive, sunlight streaming through curtains, a bowl of fresh fruit, a vase of flowers. Let it mirror growth, not tension. But if moving it is not possible, perhaps it's built-in or too large, there are soft ways to balance the energy. You can hang a lightweight curtain or gauzy fabric in front of the mirror, softening its impact without removing its presence. This adds a veil of protection, a gentle visual boundary that says, "This space is sacred." Another option is to place a landscape painting or a series of smaller artworks in front of the mirror's central section, allowing a partial view, but interrupting the direct line of energy between your body and its reflection. If the mirror must remain exposed, choose frames and shapes that are soft and welcoming. Oval mirrors with wooden or gold-toned frames, textures that feel warm to the eye. Avoid sharp corners or overly ornate metallics that feel cold or commanding. You can also place grounding objects around the sofa. A soft throw, rounded cushions, a small side table with a plant or calming stone like rose quartz or smoky quartz. These elements invite stability, signaling to your energy field. Here you are safe. Here nothing is chasing you. A client once placed a strand of clear crystal beads across the top edge of her mirror, saying it reminded her of rain droplets, gentle, purifying. Afterward, she told me the room felt quieter. She didn't change the mirror. She changed the mirror's message. Because in the end, that's what matters. Every mirror in your home is saying something. It's repeating a story, even in silence. So ask yourself, what do I want my space to reflect back at me? A sense of peace, a feeling of being held, a life that belongs to me, not just looks good from the outside. Then begin again with softness, with intention, with the courage to protect your energy in a world that always asks for more of it. Your living room does not need to be bigger. It needs to feel like yours. Mistake 4. Harsh art, visual chaos in a healing space. You walk into your living room after a long day, seeking a moment of calm. You make a cup of tea, lower yourself onto the couch, and glance at the wall across from you. And there it is, an artwork you once chose with excitement. Maybe it's a fierce animal mid-drawer or a swirl of chaotic red and black strokes in a modern abstract frame. It once felt bold, powerful, different. But now, you're not so sure, because instead of softening your spirit, it stirs something else, an unease you can't quite name. Art has power. It doesn't just decorate a space, it defines its tone. It sets the emotional music playing in the background of your daily life. And in the living room, the emotional center of the home, this influence is magnified. This is the space where loved ones gather, where stories unfold, where the energy of connection either flows or fractures. And when the images on your walls shout, fight, or mourn, the room begins to echo those emotions. In Feng Shui, artwork is treated not as aesthetic alone, but as energetic narrative. What you place on your walls becomes a silent dialogue with your subconscious. It speaks in color, shape, motion. It reflects what you carry and sometimes what you've outgrown. Paintings of stormy seas, lone figures on barren paths, or wild beasts in mid-attack can project energies of struggle, isolation, or aggression. And even if you no longer notice the image consciously, your body responds. You sit down to rest, but your nervous system remains alert. You try to relax, but your heart feels clenched. Without realizing it, you're meditating each day on conflict. One woman I worked with had a large canvas above her TV, an abstract explosion of black and crimson, sharp lines slashing through the middle. It represents freedom, she told me, but her daughter had begun waking up from nightmares. Her husband had grown distant, and she herself admitted to feeling on edge every time she walked into the room. When she finally removed the painting, something shifted. "The silence feels softer now," she said. "Even the light falls differently. This isn't about fear. It's about awareness. Art that is intense or sorrowful doesn't need to be removed from your life. It simply needs a home that can hold that emotion without imbalance, like a private studio, a journaling corner, or a meditation space for inner processing. But your living room, the heart of your home, should breathe openness, warmth, and invitation. So what kind of art nurtures a space? In healing homes, the most beloved images are those that symbolize movement with ease, growth with grace, and abundance without force. A traditional favorite is the painting of a sailing ship. Its sails full of wind, moving smoothly across calm waters. It speaks of steady progress, of being supported by life, of arrival without resistance. Hung in the living room, it sends a message. May this home always journey forward with clarity and protection. Another powerful symbol is the peony flower, rich in petals, soft in hue. In Eastern cultures, the peony represents wealth, beauty, harmony, and a life of gentle fulfillment. It radiates a feminine energy, tender and elegant, reminding us that strength can also bloom in softness. Then there's the painting of 9 koi fish swimming, a timeless Feng Shui image of perseverance, prosperity, and emotional flow. 9 represents completion. Koi represent resilience and grace. Together, they create a space where movement feels sacred, not rushed. And for those drawn to simplicity, even abstract paintings can heal when chosen with mindfulness. Look for flowing lines, harmonious colors, balanced compositions. Avoid harsh contrasts, jagged edges, or palettes dominated by sadness. Choose art that feels like a deep breath, not a battle. Here's a small ritual I often share with clients. Stand quietly in front of your living room artwork. Take 3 deep breaths and ask, not with your mind, but with your body, how does this image make me feel when I'm tired? When I'm sad, when I want to feel safe? If the answer feels tight, sharp, or numb, the art is not serving the space. It's okay to change. Our walls should evolve as we do. What once empowered you may now overwhelm you. What once felt edgy may now feel intrusive. And letting go of a painting is not losing beauty, it's reclaiming harmony. One woman I guided replaced a loud, abstract piece with a soft watercolor of a garden path. She said she hadn't realized how loud her living room felt until it went quiet. Now, she told me, I can hear myself think again. Your living room is a poem, and each artwork is a line in that poem. What are you writing day after day into the heart of your home? Choose with care. Choose with feeling. Choose with your future in mind, not just your past, because the walls are always listening. Let them listen to beauty, hope, and belonging. Healing symbols to invite grace and wealth. In every home that breathes gently, where light is allowed to stretch across walls, where air circulates without obstruction, there is often something small, almost unnoticeable, anchoring the space. A quiet symbol placed not to impress, but to bless. And if your living room has already begun to feel more open, more aligned, then the next step is not about renovation. It's about intention. Healing doesn't always require grand gestures. Sometimes it begins with the silent presence of a meaningful object placed in the right corner, at the right height, with the right heart. These are what we call symbols of alignment. You may know them as Feng Shui items, but forget the superstition. Think of them as emotional architecture, tools to hold your energy steady, to remind your space what kind of life it's meant to protect. Let's explore 4 sacred symbols often used to invite grace, wealth, and clarity into the living room, not with superstition, but with softness and wisdom. 1. Wenchang Pagoda, the Tower of Clarity and Purpose. Imagine a tall, tiered pagoda standing alone in the morning fog, its spire reaching upward with patience, not speed. The Wenchang Pagoda holds this spirit. Traditionally made of jade, bronze, or crystal, it is shaped with 7 or 9 levels, each tier representing a layer of wisdom, a step in personal growth, a rise in understanding. Its presence reminds the room, and you, that life is not a race but an unfolding. In Eastern tradition, this pagoda is used to enhance clarity of thought, focus, and career advancement. It's particularly powerful for those seeking direction. Students, writers, leaders, healers. But even if your work is quiet, homemaking, caretaking, simply being present, it supports the energy of living with purpose. Where to place it? In the southeast corner of the living room, the wealth and growth sector, or at the center of the room where energy gathers most naturally. Keep it free from dust, on a stable surface, away from TVs and electronics. Let it rise from a place of stillness. 2 Ruyi scepter, the curve of graceful flow. Delicate and curving like a question mark or a soft wave, the Ruyi scepter is a symbol not of power, but of alignment. Its name literally means, as you wish. Historically held by emperors and scholars, not to command but to symbolize inner authority, the ability to bend without breaking, to lead with calm instead of force. The ruyi is often made of jade, wood, or precious metals with a soft, cloud-like shape at its tip. It's not loud. It doesn't demand attention. It simply sits, offering a quiet reminder. You don't have to push. You only have to align. Where to place it? On a display shelf near where people gather, a coffee table, a bookshelf in the conversation corner, or again, the southeast area for growth. Let it be seen and appreciated. Let it soften the structure of the room like a stream running through stone. Three-legged toad, the guardian of quiet abundance. At first glance, it's just a small figurine. A toad with 3 legs, sitting atop coins, a single coin in its mouth. But in Chinese folklore, this is Chan Chu, the magical toad said to appear during full moons to those about to receive unexpected wealth. It doesn't chase fortune, it carries it quietly. What makes this toad special is not just its symbolic wealth, but the energy of protection and groundedness it brings. While many symbols promise prosperity, the 3-legged toad is about keeping what you receive, about slowing the leak, about restoring trust that your resources are safe. Where to place it? Near the front entrance, but always facing inward, as if it has just arrived with blessings in its mouth. Never face it toward the door, which would symbolically send your wealth back out. You may place a small dish of coins beneath it, anchoring the invitation. What to avoid? Do not place it in the bedroom, bathroom, or kitchen, spaces of transition, purification, or personal vulnerability. The toad belongs in shared, grounded space. For Azure Dragon, the energy of movement and leadership. Unlike the fire-breathing beasts of the West, the Azure Dragon in Eastern tradition is a symbol of benevolent power, of forward motion with wisdom. It is the rising sun in animal form, a creature that brings courage, protects vision, and anchors strength. This dragon isn't aggressive. It doesn't scream, it flows, it reminds. Its presence in the home is like a silent guardian of vitality, especially for those stepping into new chapters, building something of their own, or needing to reclaim agency. Where to place it? To the left side of your living room as you face outward from inside your home. This is the traditional position for incoming supportive energy. The dragon's head should face into open space, not directly at a wall or door. Ideally, place it at eye level on a sturdy shelf. Final, maybe now, as the light shifts in your living room and shadows grow softer, you begin to notice what was always waiting to be seen. Not just the objects you've moved or the quiet corners you've cleared, but the way the room itself feels different. Less guarded, less held back, as if something inside it and inside you has exhaled. It's not about perfection, it never was. You don't need the most expensive things, the rarest symbols, or the trendiest design. What matters is what the space reflects when no one's looking. What it says to your heart when you enter after a long day, whether it wraps around you like warmth or turns away like a closed door. Your living room was never just a room. It was always an invitation, a place where memories rest, where energy speaks, where the future waits quietly at the threshold. And maybe, just maybe, the shifts you've made, small as they seemed, were not only about letting in more light, more ease, more prosperity. Maybe they were also about coming home to yourself. So pause here, feel the stillness. Let your eyes land gently on the space you've created, not with judgment, not with urgency, just presence. Then ask, not with words, but with your breath. When I sit in this room, what part of me is finally ready to return?